Mouth taping promises to stop or reduce snoring, to prevent dental cavities, to prevent morning dry mouth, to prevent bad breath in the morning, to promote better sleep. It filters and humidifies the air through your nose. You produce more nitric oxide through your nose. You will suffer less allergies and infections. You have a better heart rate variability, better carbon dioxide to oxygen ratio. It promises to lower your blood pressure, improve or change your face shape, and it puts your body in a parasympathetic, which is rest and digest state. So mouth taping sounds awesome. Those are all the benefits. Who wouldn't want to try it? But did you know that there is actually no scientific evidence to back up the practice of mouth taping?
Yes, there's no categorical scientific evidence for it.
What? Well, mouth taping has taken off since James Nestor published his book Breathe in May of 2020, and then the whole trend went viral and crazy on TikTok in November 2022, and it is still trending today. Even here on YouTube, you will see YouTubers recently published videos on mouth taping, and most of them rave about the benefits. But is it not just all a whole lot of BS? Well, today's video is going to help you decide whether you should jump on this trend or give it a skip. I will share my experience with mouth taping with you, and then we'll look at who shouldn't mouth tape. We will bust a few myths on that list along the way, and I will give you some alternatives to mouth taping, some ideas for how to improve your sleep if that is why you want to try mouth taping. And of course, I'll wrap up with some closing thoughts, and then you will be well equipped to make the decision as to whether you should try this trend. And yes, that is insulation tape over my mouth in the thumbnail. The reason I use that is just looks so much cooler than the medical grade tape, which I actually used when I mouth taped. So obviously, before we start, and especially if you have no real idea what mouth taping really is all about, I just want to quickly describe for you that the main reason to mouth tape, the only reason actually, is to promote nasal breathing. So a lot of us, and I'm one of those people, are mouth breathers. I'm a mouth breather, particularly at night when I sleep. And so no wonder I wanted to jump on the mouth taping bandwagon. I wanted to sleep better, and I wanted to not wake up with a dry mouth, not wake up to drink water at night, just sleep through the night. So I thought mouth taping would be the solution for me. So mouth taping is really a step or a tool to get to nasal breathing, particularly if you are a mouth breather. So obviously, if you tend to default to breathing through your mouth at certain times or all the time, mouth taping may very well interest you like it did me. But is it all it's cracked up to be? Well, I'm going to just share my experience of mouth taping with you. For me, ultimately, mouth taping was a fail. Now, I tried it just like all the other people on YouTube and TikTok. I gave it a few nights. And after I read James Nestor's book, which actually I can save you reading the book by giving you the takeaway, which is nasal breathing is good for overall health, mouth breathing is bad. I think we kind of would know that anyway. I would not read the whole book if I were you. He goes into some weird breathing techniques, unless, of course, that interests you. But what they did was they found that all their health markers improved when they nasal breathed as opposed to when they actually plugged up their nose and mouth breathed. So I was hoping that I could just do mouth taping and encourage my nose to get used to breathing again. But after a few nights, I still was getting very clogged at night, not able to breathe fully through my nose, having to wake up and rip the tape off. And so I thought, what is going on here? Because in James Nestor's book, he says that if you mouth breathe as a habit, your nasal passages are not used to being as strong as they should. It's almost like they need the workout. They need to remember how to breathe. And so he encourages mouth taping to train your nose to breathe again. And it wasn't working for me. So I looked in the mirror and what I discovered was that I actually have a collapsed nostril, but deep inside my nose where the nostril itself, now I'm going to spare you the ugly photographs. I did take photographs, but this nostril is almost like a slit, the opening deep inside, whereas this one is fine. Interestingly enough, this nostril looks bigger and I tend to pull this side of my face more. And I think it's because I'm trying to breathe through this nostril and it just internally, physically is kind of collapsed inside there. So I've been doing this experiment for a while with the mouth taping and other tricks to try and get me to nasal breathe, which I'll share with you now. But it would seem that for me, mouth taping was never going to be the solution because of my physical obstruction. My nose is physically obstructed. Probably I would need surgery. Oddly enough, I have been to see an ENT about this very problem, and he checked up there, put cameras up there, and said that there is no obstruction. But the thing is, the opening is there, air does get in. But what he's maybe not realizing is that because the gap is smaller, the tissue sort of touches together at times, and this nostril does clog up far more. So for me, mouth taping was never going to work. So then I saw all these other influencers wearing these little nose plasters. I'm sure you've seen them, Alex Hormozy, Ryan Humiston. You'll see quite a few people wearing these nose plasters. And I thought, I've seen these. So off I went to buy nose plasters, which I thought for me would be the solution. If I could open up my airways a little bit more, hopefully I could sleep through the night, nasal breathing. And so that would be the alternative to mouth taping. So if you are somebody who feels very anxious and you are worried that you're not going to be able to breathe at night with tape on your mouth, you may not need to tape your mouth up. Maybe a nose plaster that pulls the tissue of your nose open, that may be the solution for you. Now, for me, again, it hasn't quite, it's helped. It's helped a lot, and I'm still using the nose plasters on and off at night. It's not quite the be-all and the end-all solution because the nose plasters itch like a mother fluffer. So now you're waking up at night scratching with an itchy nose. There's a sticky residue in the morning, and I don't think it's good for my skin night after night to be taped up and then you're ripping it off in the morning. However, it does help. The minute I put the nose plaster on, I can breathe. So that is an alternative to mouth taping. The other alternative you could try, which Andrew Huberman suggests, is simply during the day, when you're awake and conscious, practice breathing through your nose as much as possible so that you become habituated to nose breathing. And then at night, hopefully, you fall asleep breathing through your nose, and you should stay asleep breathing through your nose. Now, of course, I've done some research and I've realized that there are some people who should not attempt mouth taping. Anyone who's on any kind of sleeping tablet or medication that makes you drowsy where you cannot wake up at night, do not try mouth taping. In normal cases, you're going to be able to just rip the tape off if you're feeling a little bit claustrophobic. But if you're on any medication, and also if you've had too much to drink, please don't mouth tape. We have the ability to breathe through our mouths for a reason. It's our backup. At night, a lot of us, I'm one of those people, our noses do clog up and congest far more than when we are upright, when our sinuses can drain. It's something that I wish I could get my head around. I don't know why, but every time I lie down, especially on my sides, my nose clogs up. The dangers of mouth breathing, or the negatives, are way overhyped, way overplayed. I've pretty much been breathing through my mouth my entire life, I think, as far back as I can remember. I've always had sinus problems, particularly at night where they clog up, and I'm fine. I'm here. I'm relatively fit, relatively healthy. And this is where I want to just challenge one of these things on that list of mouth taping benefits. I have fantastic teeth and I'm a nighttime mouth breather, no cavities. I think dental hygiene plays a far bigger role than whether you breathe through your mouth or not in terms of the dental cavity. Does mouth taping help you with your dry mouth? Of course it does. If you're going to keep your mouth closed, of course, you won't have such a dry mouth. But an even bigger factor is how much salt you have in your evening meal. I find even when I've taped my mouth or put the nose plaster on, if I have a very salty meal, regardless of whether I'm breathing through my nose or my mouth, I am going to wake up and want to drink water. So there's another thing on that list, busted. In terms of sleep, many YouTubers have actually found that their sleep data has not improved at all with mouth taping.
It looks as if my sleep quality, on average, just eyeballing these numbers, was actually better when I didn't have my mouth taped shut than when I did.
So sadly, mouth taping did nothing to improve the quality nor the quantity of my sleep.
Now, it could be that the irritant of having something over your mouth is kind of keeping you a little bit awake at night. Possibly that's why the sleep data hasn't been fantastic for them. Personally, I don't track my sleep data because I find the more I worry about my sleep, the harder it is for me to sleep. I didn't feel any different whether I mouth taped or not, whether I breathed more through my nose at night or not. I think it's more about not drinking liquid late at night, not having anything too salty, sleep hygiene things that you can do to improve your sleep, And of course, you can try things like magnesium. You can try de-stressing, meditation before bed. As I said, making sure you're not having too much liquid. Don't have a very heavy, rich meal, which of course disturbs your sleep. So much of sleep is in our minds and how relaxed we are. And then, of course, it's just our own bodies, hormones, our circadian rhythm. So many factors come into play with sleep. So I think mouth taping, it can aid you in the one little part of sleep, which is breathing through your nose. But it's not the be-all and the end-all. You can still get a very good night's sleep breathing through your mouth. I've done it. I've had many fantastic nights sleep where I never even thought about all this before all this was trending, the mouth taping. I'm not saying that mouth taping is not a useful tool. It is. But if there's no scientific evidence to back something up and you think it's going to cause anxiety or you're going to feel claustrophobic, I would say don't try it. If you're fit and healthy and you just want to use some tape over your mouth to encourage you to keep your lips closed, that's fine. Go ahead. I think it's worth an experiment and it's worth a try. There's no harm in trying it. And if you don't like it, just don't do it anymore. I would say personally, don't go and invest in these expensive branded like Somnifix and there's Myotape, these ones that leave a slit in the mouth so you can breathe. Just use the little piece of micropore tape, which, as I said, all you need to do is take a piece of micropore and put it in the middle of your lips. You don't need a big strip across your lips that way, just a little square in the middle to encourage your lips to stay closed. That's all you need so that you can suck air out of the corners of your mouth. And there you go. The last myth I want to bust is the snoring myth, because one of the big claims is that breathing through your nose will reduce or stop snoring. However, my partner, who doesn't wake up at night for a pee often, doesn't wake up to drink water, so I'm assuming he's breathing through his nose most of the night, he snores. And he demonstrated for me that you can snore through your nose very well, like this. So there you go. I've just snored with my mouth closed. And now I, who am more of a mouth breather at night, don't snore. So I don't know what you want to make of that. I'm not saying that taping your mouth or breathing through your nose won't reduce snoring. In some cases, I guess it depends on the reason why you're snoring and whether it's the soft sort of sinus passages that are the problem. And I guess if those are the problems, you are going to snore regardless. And lastly, I just want to touch on mouth taping or nasal breathing and exercise, because I did try that as well. There's so much talk out there about nasal breathing to improve your heart rate variability. Well, I don't know about that because I didn't do the experiment long enough, but I tried nasal breathing whilst I weight trained. I was able to do that. I felt okay. I felt fine. And then I tried nasal breathing whilst running. Unfortunately, I only heard what Andrew Huberman had to say after I tried running whilst breathing through my nose only, because he says, just open your mouth and breathe how you need to breathe. And what I discovered was that it's almost impossible. Well, for me, it's impossible to nasal breathe only whilst running. What I did find is I was able to breathe in through my nose, but then I had to expel a lot of air out through my mouth, because you need to get the old air out quickly. So I would say, in terms of exercise, just breathe however your body wants to breathe. If you're doing something more like weight training, it is possible. Keep your mouth shut. It does look better. You don't with your mouth hanging out while you weight train. And sorry, I've just got an image of people with their mouths hanging open while they weight train. But what I do find is when you start to exert, you do need to expel more air. And so if you're weight training and you're breathing in and out through your nose only, you are going to push some snot out of your nose. So just be aware of that. So maybe just do whatever comes naturally to you while you exercise, and then just encourage yourself to nasal breathe during the day. And you will probably get into a habit of nasal breathing if it's just a bad habit for you that you mouth breathe. If, however, like me, you have some kind of physical obstruction, you need to sort that out first. So in that case, mouth taping would be a waste of time for you anyway. And so you probably shouldn't try it in that case. But trying mouth taping may lead you to find out that there is a problem. So I will probably need surgery, but who knows? I mean, that's very expensive, time, money, the works. What I will say is that I'm very glad I started this journey and I did this experiment, because even just being more conscious of keeping my mouth closed during the day, I have found that my default now, when I'm up and awake and about, driving, reading, working on the computer, I do tend to keep my mouth shut. It is easier now to breathe through my nose, even the obstructed one. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll really enjoy this video over here, where I fasted for 30 hours and I shared my honest opinion on how that went with you. Thank you for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.